today I'm going to be playing through the first two levels of Katana Zero, a 2D side-scrolling action platformer created by ASCII Soft. From the very beginning, we can see that the game teaches us one of the core mechanics, reflecting bullets. Now, while there is a button prompt, this isn't that big of a deal as we need to know how to control the game before we hope to actually play the game. From the start, it does a very good job of showing us basic movement. S to go down, there's breakable floors, and we can walk through doors. Throughout the game, there are short dialogue options with multiple choices that, depending on the decisions we make, will affect the outcome of certain events. Any red text is essentially skipping all the dialogue that the other character is speaking to get to the point. Oftentimes, this is considered a bit more aggressive and is not advised. That little section there was just setting up the plot for the first level. Now, our character, the guy with the sword, his name is Zero. As for Zero's controls, he is very responsive when moving side to side, and his jump feels very well done. It's floaty, but not so floaty that it feels like you have too much hang time. He has a basic roll that gives him invulnerability frames, and his sword swipes can lift him up into the air. This section here is just a replay of the section of the level that we just completed, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to skip those. This screen here is showing us that dotted lines mean danger, and in this case, the red ones are lasers, the yellow ones are guns. But as you can see, we can safely dash through them. The game decides to show that we have invulnerability frames by using that, for lack of better words, smudge effect of the red, blue, and pink. Now, because we saw that bad guy interacting with the lever, the game teaches us that there are interactable objects within the world. Here we can also see that the game is telling us that since we know we can already break objects, such as the floor, we can strike both enemies and the floor at the same time. Right here, it's also showing that we get the same invulnerability frames that we do as rolling when we're wall jumping. And here, another button prompt, yes, but we can slow down time and give ourselves bigger windows of opportunity to get past obstacles. When we die, we're able to restart the level. It rewinds almost like a cassette tape, using visual and audio effects that are not so far separated from that of our invulnerability frames. Arrows direct us where to go, and button prompts show us that we can interact with things. So, here's the scientist that we were sent to find. Let's get this guy to safety. Well, I guess that's a bust. Anyways. Very quickly, we can see that this blue-haired Russian is not our friend. But since we already learned that we can interact with things, we get to zap those guys out of existence quite easily. And that's the end of the first level. In between each level, there is this small section where we get to go home, and on the news, we are told about the day's events, typically involving all the people that we just murdered, but you know, that's besides the point. As far as game feel goes, most levels in the game have aspects of verticality to them, as you could see through the partially transparent floors that I was able to not only jump, but also swing my sword through and ascend with. This sequence, both the dream and now, is more or less for the story, but as the game progresses, we are clued into more information as to what actually happens and why we have the ability to control time. Because the ability to slow down time and have invulnerability is not just for gameplay, and is actually tied into the story. But I don't want to spoil it for you. Because of this game's pixel art style, each hitbox for not only yourself, 0, but the enemies also feels incredibly clean and very, very well defined. Here's our dossier telling us what we need to do for the next mission, and our target is Josh Rose. Let's go get him. As I said previously, some dialogue options affect the outcome. So if we were to be rude to this receptionist and interrupt her, she would get angry at us, which would affect the ending of the level on our way out. But we'll be nice to her. She doesn't deserve to be yelled at. Now, as I was saying about the pixel art style, I believe that an affordance of that is the ability to have such well-defined hitboxes for everything. For my sword, for bullets flying at me, for enemies I need to take care of. In this level, yes, there is an arrow, but it teaches us that there are not only interactable objects in the world, but items that we can pick up and throw. We're not simply limited to our sword when it comes to getting rid of our enemies. The pacing of each screen feels very well done and doesn't overstay its welcome, but that's not without its challenges. Now that death there was a bit on my end because I wasn't paying attention, but you know, that's besides the point. There are certainly some screens that are larger than others, especially later in the game, but no one screen overstays its welcome, keeping things fresh and moving forward throughout the entirety of the game. As you can see, the last level was much more horizontal, whereas this one we immediately start by dropping down. Since there's no way to get through all 5 of those lasers simply by rolling through, it's just too large, the game shows us an alternate path. This preps the player later down the line to not be afraid to not necessarily take the easiest looking path, and tells the players that there's more than one way to beat a level. Well, looks like we didn't actually need to get our hands dirty. Apart from all the people we already killed. But that's besides the point. Poor dude. He was stuck in the elevator. And because we were nice to the receptionist, she's gonna vouch for us. The blood? Oh, that's obviously cosplay. And they're none the wiser. And that was the first 2 levels of Katana 0. Both levels provided some very intuitive game design that taught the player the basic mechanics of the game. While starting off the game with such an obvious button prompt as reflecting the bullet, I think this can be excused, as it really is a core mechanic to not only surviving this game, but also thriving in this game.